Hey, open up. It's about the investigation. Well, I've been looking around the crime scene, and I decided I'd question everybody to see what their alibis were. A rundown? Well, sure. The victim was Sumugi Shirogane. She was found under the tiles of the floor. She went missing about 3 days before it happened. And that's about all we know for sure. I asked Monokuma if it's against the school rules to break the school in order to do a murder, and he didn't give a clear response. Besides that, we have no leads. I can't think of anybody who would do this. Unlike the other murders that seemed, in the moment, this was premeditated. I'm not a good detective, and I'm nervous that I won't be able to help everyone, but I'm gonna try as hard as I can. And so, I decided to question you first. I wanted to know where you were when the crime was supposedly taking place. The Monokuma file says that the time of death, although the date is unspecified, was around 2 in the morning. So, if we can assume that the Sumugi died 3 days ago when she went missing at 2 in the morning, then I'm going to need to know where you were and if you have any alibis for anyone else. I guess that was kind of silly. Of course you were sleeping. Everyone else seemed to be. I asked Monokuma if I can check the security cameras, but he said that was strictly against student policies. And so, the only thing we have to go off of is the evidence left at the crime scene. Since we don't have forensic science or any way to check for DNA, we'll just have to go with what's visibly there. So we know there was the scalpel, the hammer, and a bunch of pieces of tile that was presumably from the tile that was smashed. I can only guess that Sumugi was buried in there. But we don't know a cause of death either. It's unknown whether she was put in there and died from asphyxiation, or rather suffocation, or if she was killed beforehand and hidden in there. I highly doubt that anybody would go and purposefully bury someone there to make their death painful unless they had a very specific vendetta against them. I would like to believe that they were killed beforehand and the murderer, in an attempt not to get caught, buried them. But why? It's not like they didn't think they were going to get caught anyway. Of course, eventually we were going to recognize that Sumugi was gone and the body would be discovered. That's how we discovered it anyway. Which was very interesting. I didn't exactly know that you don't actually need to see the body to count as witnessing the body. So once 3 of us were finally in the room when she died, the body discovery announcement went off and we didn't even know there was a body. I'm at a loss. But I decided for once I'm going to start coming up with ideas before the class trial happens. It's reckless to not come up with anything before the class trial, because if we don't get this, then we all die. My first suspect was, of course, Gonta, because he would be the one to be able to lift those heavy tiles, let alone break them. Yet on second thought, I don't think he could do something like this. It doesn't seem in his nature. This was a horrific crime, and if someone was killed by Gonta, it would probably be in the moment. It wouldn't be planned beforehand, right? But I just wanted to know, what is your take on it? Who do you think did the murder? I trust you. a lot. And I don't think you're the one who did it. So, if you have any leads for who might, well, I'd love to know. Huh? No. No, that's wrong. It can't be. I mean, she had to be sleeping. You really think Himiko could have done it? Though how would she have... Oh. The tiles weren't lifted, were they? They were smashed. In that case, it can't be Gonta, can it? Gonta could have easily lifted the tiles, but for someone to smash them, they smashed them because they couldn't lift them. That's it. I feel like anybody else could have lifted the tiles with some effort. With the exception of a few people. Of course Kokichi couldn't have. And Himiko. I feel like everyone else could have done it. So it has to be one of them. But besides that, I don't know who it could be. We don't have any leads besides it could be one of them, and we can't just vote on a 1 in 2 chance, right? I suppose you're right. I'm pushing myself too hard, aren't I? I don't want to get this wrong. I feel like we passed the last trial on nothing but luck. I mean, if Korekio didn't admit to killing Angie, then we would have never known. But this time the killer hasn't admitted, and I don't think they will. They wouldn't have hidden the body like that unless they were too scared to get caught. Wait a minute. The killer was too scared to get caught. Does that mean their motive for killing wasn't getting out? They wanted to kill Samuki, but their motive for killing Samuki wasn't because they wanted to win the trial. They must have known something we didn't. Why would they hide the body unless they didn't want to be caught? But all we know now is that Samuki's dead, and the game is still going, which means if there is a mastermind among us, then they're still alive. So no matter what, we have to keep investigating. Come on. I feel like I'm gonna need your help. I'm not done just yet. There has to be more at the crime scene. There just has to. And I won't quit until I have a definitive answer for who killed her.